All right, we're going to do a little bit more with the multiplication property of equality. I'll show you one thing from section 2.1 that we talked about. So when we solved equations with variables on both sides, I told you to always try and add or subtract your variable term to keep it positive. So that would mean subtracting 3x from both sides. It'll get rid of this 3x, and then 4x minus 3x will be 1x. And then when you solve x plus 5 equals negative 2, by subtracting 5 from both sides, you'll be done. But we might accidentally get caught by subtracting the 4x from both sides. And it's not wrong to subtract 4x from both sides, but you end up with negative x instead of x. We would then add 2 to both sides. And I told you guys, if this happened to you and you got negative x equals 7, that you just switch your signs. The reason that's working is actually because of the multiplication property of equality that says I can divide both sides by negative 1, and that's why x equals negative 7. It actually comes from the multiplication property of equality. You can avoid having to do that extra step by subtracting the 3x from both sides, but this is why that works out. I just wanted to show you that since we're now talking about the multiplication property of equality. Something else from chapter 1 or from section 1 we talked about was simplify before solving. So if I want to solve this for x, I could subtract 7 from both sides. I could add 6 from both sides, but I can also combine these together first because they're like terms. And what this lets me do is instead of trying to figure out which of these two to get rid of from this side, if I combine them together to one thing, then I only have one thing to get rid of from both sides. I can just subtract 1 from both sides and I'm done. The same thing happens when we're solving with multiple variable terms. So here, I had 2 constants that were like terms, but what if I had 2 variables that were like terms? You could do this in 2 steps of subtracting 7 from both sides, then adding 6. It won't mess you up, but don't get in that bad habit because here it's going to hurt you. Okay? I have to combine these two together first. I cannot subtract 2x from both sides because there's no x term over here, or subtract 3x from both sides. I can't divide by 2 because then I'd have to divide this by 2 and then this by 2, and that's fine, but I'd still have these 2 x terms. This is why I always want you combining like terms. Whether they're constants or variables, we have to combine these together to get one term. And now that I have it as 5x equals 15, now I know I need to divide both sides by 5 and x equals 3. Combine like terms first. You're not going to see any distribution along with this in this section, just that idea of combining 2 variable terms. Combine like terms first before you try and solve. It makes your life easier here. Here, it's how you have to do it. So 5x minus 3x this time is 2x equals negative 12. And now that I have 2x, I can divide both sides by 2. And x equals negative 6. 3x minus 6x, be careful with our signs. This is negative 3x. When I combine those like terms, 3 minus 6 is negative 3. And now because this is negative 3 times x, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. So x equals negative 3. Works with fractions also. A little more work with fractions. I need to get a common denominator. My common denominator is 4. So I'm going to call this 2 over 4. 2 over 4x plus 3 over 4x is 5/4 x equals 7. And now that I have this as a single term, I can multiply both sides by the reciprocal like we talked about in the last lesson. Set this one up as a fraction. Reciprocals always multiply to 1. That's why we're doing it. So that's just 1x, which is just x. Nothing here cross simplifies. So I'm just going to multiply my numerators and denominators. And I'm going to leave this as 28 over 5. Even if there are 3 like terms, I'm still going to combine them all. Add left to right. 2x minus x is 1x plus 3x. This all simplifies to 4x. Now that we have it simplified, I can just divide both sides by 4 and x equals 4. Just be careful with your signs as you're adding and subtracting like terms. Always watch your signs in front. So this is negative 6x plus 5x. That's negative 1x minus 4x. This all simplifies to negative 5x equals negative 25. And now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. And x will equal positive 5.